Wow, it is a great view from up here. What a morning. This is just so great. Thank you all for coming. We're making a little noise today, and we're making some news at Oregon Community Foundation's annual meeting. I'm thrilled to be among so many friends and leaders here in Oregon's statewide caring community. Thank you all. Let's give ourselves a hand. It is truly such an honor to be with you and to lead this remarkable organization. Today, we stand on the shoulders of those who came before and in the lands of Indigenous people who've stewarded our ecosystem since time immemorial. Oregon Community Foundation not only acknowledges the land, but also honors Native people by supporting programs and projects from all Oregon tribes and urban Native communities. So to Indigenous people, we are grateful for your knowledge. We're grateful for your contributions and your partnership. Thank you. So what a year it's been. You may recall that in 2023, we look back on a rich history of 50 years of work of the Oregon Community Foundation since its founding. And now we're looking forward. We take with us some very important truths as we do this. And the first of those truths is this: when we come together, we can accomplish big things. That $52 million love letter to the arts that Lane spoke about is just one example. Arts and culture partners came to us in trust, and they told us we're vulnerable. This recovery is longer and harder and more expensive than we thought. And we stepped forward with our friends from the Miller Foundation and with our partners in the legislature, and we made a major investment to help this whole arts and culture ecosystem thrive. So standing in the room that you saw in that video at the announcement with all our friends and partners, I felt something I haven't felt for a while: joy, radical joy. Let's hear it for some joy, because we need more of it. And in fact, all of you artists in the room and artists at heart, stand up. We got to recognize you. I mean, the artists. All of you artists, all of you artists, all of you culture bearers, we need to recognize you. Thank you. You bring us joy. And when we've found joy, we've also found some hope in places where we took some risks and where we made some bold moves, like our Project Turnkey, another example of going big together. We again partnered with the state of Oregon in a swift and smart statewide recovery from the Oregon's 2020 crises. The state turned to the Oregon Community Foundation to distribute $125 million of state money to effectively convert underused hotels, like old Motel 6s, into safe shelter and a fresh start for thousands of unhoused Oregonians. And the result was just astonishing. We helped 32 sites around the state, and we made a 30% jump in available shelter beds for neighbors. You did not hear that number wrong. It really was. It really was a 30% difference. And if percentages are hard to conceptualize, think about being one of these families. Think about what it would feel like to be living in a cold car on a dark street. And now, because of Project Turnkey, you find yourself in a safe and welcoming and warm community filled with kindness, a place to rebuild your life with purpose and hope. That's the memory we should all hold of Project Turnkey. And we are deeply proud of this work. So thank you for all of you. You know, we heard that just this week, Oregon Congresswoman Suzanne Bonamici, she introduced the Project Turnkey Act in the US House, and it would take this Oregon innovation to the national level with $1 billion for shelter space for converting around the country. So We think that's momentum, and we think Oregon has some answers for the rest of the country. So thank you to our Congresswoman. To me, these are examples, our love letter to the arts and Project Turnkey. They're examples of coming together as Oregonians and saying, we've got you. We're here for you. We're not going to let you down. We're here for you in the deepest way. And together, we're going to find a solution that works. It's really an Oregon kind of style to say, we've got you. We're not going to let you down. And when I was thinking about what to say to this room of 600 friends, I thought about my mom, and I thought about some lessons from my early childhood. And I asked if I could tell an interesting story. So I'm going to try this one. So when I was a kid, every summer, we went to Methodist Church Camp at Camp Magruder in Rockaway Beach, Oregon. I'm a legacy camper. My grandparents went there. My mom was a camper there. My mom became a counselor. My dad counseled. So we weren't getting out of this. We were going to be at Camp Magruder. And Mom would tell us these stories. We always loved the Oregon coast. But for all of us who know the Oregon coast, it's also terrifying and cold to be at the Oregon coast. So Mom told us about a ritual that started when she was a kid, about how we would go to the ocean as kids on beach day. They knew kids wanted to have fun, and they knew that the ocean is a terrible thing. So they got a big rope. My lawyer husband says no other state would do this, but for liability reasons. But they'd put one counselor at the end of the rope, another counselor at the other end of the rope, and a counselor, somebody strong and sturdy. When she was young, that was my mom, way up the beach with another rope. And then all the kids stood in the middle and held onto the rope. Now, I know this doesn't sound brilliant, but this is the way we would go walk into the waves, jump the waves, eat your heart out, California. We were gonna jump those waves together, but we were holding on to the rope. And it was a way we didn't lose anyone to a riptide or those famous sneaker waves. We were holding on. And if the rope failed, there was somebody way back at the beach. And that was the picture my mom gave me, saying, it's okay, you can go out into those waves. We belong there, we've got you, you're not gonna fall. And that's the image that I feel we need to take with us as Oregonians. I wanted to tell you this story because for me, that's the story of Oregon Community Foundation. We're helping our communities to hold on to each other. They're making their own ropes to hold on to, and they have their own anchors standing on that beach, keeping folks from the riptides. Our communities are seeing the opportunities within. They're seeing the strength that our communities have. Last year, Oregon Community Foundation made grants and investments in Ashland and in Astoria and Baker City and Bandon and all the places in between. And the result is real impacts in over 600 Oregon communities and more than 4,000 organizations, and a total of $225 million in grants and scholarships. After all, this is an annual meeting, so you should know what went on during the year. It was a great year to make over $200 million in grants and scholarships. But what you should also keep in mind is that every dollar is connected to someone's hope, someone's legacy, and someone's generosity. So you here in this room and watching online, you made it possible for us to spread the joy to all corners of Oregon, and we thank you, honestly. We look around our state and our country, and there's so much strife and strain, so much hopelessness. The challenge that we face, they're real, and so is pain. But when I look around this room and I listen to the caring voices of Oregon, I see a community that chooses to move boldly into the future. We stand up together and we say to one another, hold on, you belong. So I want to tell you some stories of communities that have said, hold on, you belong. And the first I want to tell you a story about the small town of Staten in the Willamette Valley. In 2020, yeah, we got some Staten people in the house. Yay! At the peak of the pandemic in 2020, you will recall that devastating wildfires tore through this beautiful landscape. 400,000 acres were ravaged. And in the middle of that, the Santiam Memorial Hospital led a network of providers in delivering essential services to their desperate neighbors. And they had to do all that work in person during a pandemic. Just imagine, for many, these were their first touches, first hugs after long months of social isolation due to COVID. And recently, I went back to Staten to see firsthand what rebuilding and recovery mean in a community looking not just to survive after fires, but to thrive. And the folks at Staten, they told me they don't even talk about recovery anymore, because in some ways you don't really recover from a tragedy of this magnitude. Instead, you carry it with you and you keep it as a source of strength. Communities like Staten don't exclude people. They serve each other. Staten Memorial Hospital CEO Maggie Hudson is here with her team. So let's hear it for these local heroes. Four years of rebuilding after the 2020 fires, we've learned some lessons to take with us for the next time. Our partners at the Roundhouse Foundation and the Ford Family Foundation created the Oregon Disaster Funders Network. We joined them so that we have a system in place to share funding needs and resources and community connections. We also established the Disaster Relief Recovery Fund because we know that when it comes to disasters, it's not if, but when. These two moves will help us to be better prepared for next time. So that's not the only story I want to tell about holding on. I want to tell another story. And it's the kind of resilience we need. And I saw it in Coos Bay. There, I hope we have some Coos Bay in the house. I was able, there's our Coos Bay caddy, thank you. I visited with Brenda Mead, who's the tribal chair of the Coquille Indian tribe. Her culture holds salmon above all else. And in 2020, there were just 2 pair of salmon that were returned to the Coquille River. Extinction appeared to be imminent. So Brenda and her tribe, they got to work. They partnered with the state of Oregon and their neighbors, and she told me how they literally placed salmon back into the river, practicing the sustainable natural resource management inherited from countless generations of ancestors. Brenda's goal is to be a good ancestor for future generations. Think about that. Her goal is to be a good ancestor for future generations, something I think we can all aspire to. The way she puts it, our grandkids are watching. Because when it comes to salmon, failure isn't an option. Gotta hold on. It's the same grit and determination we see just blocks from here in Northeast Portland at the Albina Vision Trust. And I am so proud of this work. Like Brenda and her tribe, this organization, Albina Vision Trust, honors the past as it looks forward to create a much brighter future. At one point, 80% of Portland's historic Black community lived in Albina. It was Portland's Harlem. But over the decades, urban renewal plans, they simply devastated the neighborhood. The Memorial Coliseum went up, and so did the Portland Public Schools headquarters campus. And of course, I-5 cut right through the heart of the neighborhood. And so without bold action, this rich cultural legacy would just be a distant memory for our city. But instead, Albina Vision Trust joined together with federal and local officials for plans aimed at reconnecting this community with the river and to find some healing. Today, Albina Vision Trust is building 94 acres of inclusive, affordable, vibrant housing and commercial space that is truly worthy of the community's legacy. You got to imagine this. Yes, this is worth it. Now we have to imagine it, but someday we'll see this. There will be green buildings, community gardens, new parks, and new investments, and an entrepreneurial spirit returning home. Here in Portland, what Albina Vision Trust is leading is the largest restorative redevelopment project in the nation. And we at the Oregon Community Foundation are so proud to stand with Albina Vision Trust through grants and our donor advised funds. And just today, our board approved another $200,000 grant to help them shepherd these big ideas and make it real. So congrats. So what I love about Albina Vision Trust is it's demonstrating exactly the kind of leadership and ingenuity that put Oregon on the map as a national innovator in finding solutions to our most pressing challenges. Now, many have shrugged off Oregons. Some were worried about me coming back home. Many said the glory days of the bottle bill and the beach bill, those are things of the past. All the glory is behind us. And some have wondered whether we've lost our spark, whether Oregon's lost its spark. But when I get out and I listen to the voices of our communities, I hear another important truth. We are at a crossroads, and Oregon's courageous leaders are showing us the way through. We are truly warmed by their energy to innovate because we know this. Oregon is an idea, and it's an idea that belongs to all of us. And that idea is that we have it in ourselves to create our own future together, whether it's through forest fire recovery, river restoration, or literally re-envisioning a community from the ground up. And for the Oregon Community Foundation, we look to that past for inspiration, but our eyes are fixed firmly on the future. Now is exactly the time to accelerate what we are doing well. We need to supercharge. Yes, we got to do this, folks. You're all part of this. We need to supercharge our work and make a difference now for the generations to come. Oregon is us. It's all of us. So as I close, I'm thinking about my mom. I'm thinking about her standing on the beach as an anchor, holding onto that rope for all of us. And today it's our turn to say, hold on boldly, hold on to each other, to this place, to the home we share. Hold on boldly to a vision of 40,000 children who are born each year in Oregon, every one of them learning to read and read well. Hold on boldly to communities where people can find affordable housing, where they can thrive, where they can come home. And hold on boldly to the idea that we can find ways to heal division and inequality. We are Oregonians. Our path moves forward in one direction, forward. Thank you.
My name is Marco Bay. I'm Executive Director of Lomacatsi Restoration Project. We're a nonprofit organization dedicated to restoring ecosystems and the resiliency of communities, cultures, and economies. We do that through ecosystem restoration, workforce development, and community revitalization. So we have scientists that are part of our training program, we have traditional elders, and then young adults who harbor a lot of knowledge of their land. We hire ages 18 to 30. They're paid a really good living wage, and they have an opportunity after the training to work for their tribe, to work for federal agencies, state agencies. So it's an on-ramp camp to natural resource career path. We've had some large fires since 2020. One of the areas we've been working in since 2004, when the fire came to that location, it dropped and it creeped on the ground, and that landscape is still intact. So it's powerful, very powerful.
Colleges have had to shift, and at PCC we're having to shift and really ask ourselves, how do we shift from saying our students need to be college ready to now PCC needs to be student ready? How can we serve each student where they are, giving them what they need, and at the same time, how can we create a system around serving the whole student? I'm Adrienne Bennings, Dr. B if you will. I'm president of Portland Community College, and if there's anything to know about me, I am a champion for empowerment. If you came into the campus, you might have seen some flags with the One Together, Together One. It's really a rallying cry. I'm only one individual. PCC is only one institution. OCF is only one organization. But together, working as one together, we can really accomplish the transformative change in helping to meet the needs of our community and making a difference all across the state and the region beyond ways that we can't imagine. So that's One Together, Together One.
My name is Kenny LaPointe, and I'm the Executive Director of Mid-Columbia Community Action Council, and we are the lead coordinator and provider of homeless services in our service territory. Historically, the way things were done is homeless services was operated by volunteers. Homelessness is much more complicated now. We have a lot more complex issues, co-occurring disorders. You have to have agencies and expertise on the ground to handle it. And that is where we're collaborating, we're pulling those agencies together, and that's how we're doing it differently. Our turnkey project is called the Annex, and it's the first family shelter in the Gorge. Today, we have about 70 people who are staying there, about 30 kids, which is really incredible that we're able to house that many kids. And our goal is within 6 to 12 months, they move out of the Annex and into permanent housing. So that's our goal with every person who enters that facility, and we're really proud that we've had a lot of success there.
I am so thankful to have with me the people you just saw in that video, Marco Bay, Dr. Adrienne Bennings, and Kenny LaPointe. Thank you. You are what I call the Oregon innovators. And you're not just innovators, you are pushing us forward. And so we thought today we're going to have a little fun talking with some folks in Oregon who have this concept of holding on to us all and moving us forward. So I want to start with you, Marco. Marco is the executive director of the Lomacotsi Restoration Project based down in Southern Oregon. And Marco, when we saw that video, it takes us into what I think is a primal fear: fire on the land, fire. And you started Lomacotsi with a deeply ambitious goal: 186,000 acres under active restoration in Oregon and elsewhere. What is this goal of restoration? Can you tell me about what is Lomacotsi pointing itself to?
Sure.
Welcome.
Thank you, Lisa, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm trying to relax up here a little bit. Well, thinking about what we've all experienced here in Oregon and really throughout the West over the last 10 years, especially the last 5, we've seen mega fires like we've never seen before. There's a changing climate. We're dealing with smoke, long periods of smoke, even here in the Willamette Valley that we didn't experience. So when we started out nearly 30 years ago, 1995, we didn't have the fires like we have today. So fires are increasing in scope and scale. So our vision was adaptive management in how we interact with ecosystems and communities. So a triple bottom line approach to economy, ecology, and the social well-being of people. And as we built that model over time, anchored with our tribal community partners, our federal and state agency partners, philanthropy, we had to think about forward. What is it going to be forward? How do we anticipate the future? So bringing that vision to ecosystem resilience, which is trying to get a system in place that it can receive fire, because fire evolved these systems. It created the diversity that we have, and fire needs to be our friend. So how do we set the stage for good, low, mild fire to come back on the ground. And that's what
I
that
just-
video shared.
Pause for a minute, because I don't think I've ever heard the phrase good fire. I mean, it's unless another use of that word, but say a little more, because
Sure.
I think this is powerful.
Mhm.
Because it brings up fear, and yet you're
Right.
talking about how fire can be part of restoration, and you're going back to ancient techniques.
Right.
Just say a little bit more.
Sure.
Yeah.
So these forests are highly departed because we were really good at putting out fires for the last 100 to 150 years. Smokey the Bear did his job really well. Smokey had an intent. And when we go back pre-contact and even to the modern day, tribal people put fire on the ground for thousands of years, mainly women, carefully applied fire. They were farming the land with fire from the ridge tops to the valley bottoms. So we have to get the forest in a condition where we can do that again. It's like the maintenance of a road or our infrastructure, ecosystem services. We need to lean on fire so that low intensity, mild fire can happen after we do all the heavy lifting. And we can lean on our industry partners in a good way to do ecologically based work. We can lean on our agency partners, but front and center are the tribal communities we work with because they understand fire. They've worked with fire. They continue to work with fire. So when we get the vegetation reduced and in a more ecologically healthy state, then we can carefully apply fire like our crews will be doing on Monday in Southern Oregon with the Bureau of Land Management, 25 tribal members, trained, fire certified, and putting fire back on the ground. It'll be 6 to 1 foot flame lengths, creeping around, restoring the ecosystem, regenerating plants. And we do that also in partnership with the community. So engaging with our community partners, with our elected leaders. Representative Marsh is here. We've done a lot of great work with Representative Marsh and Senator Golden around this, and then our federal partners. So
Good.
fire is something to be concerned about. We don't want big fires. We need to pounce on those fires, but we need to return it in a good way.
Return it in a good way. And I think the video is showing when you said the fire dropped,
Yes.
it meant that it didn't burn through, right? It just stopped. So
Exactly.
because you had treated those,
Yes.
I think you impressed our board so much. And I just find this work powerful. But I also find it curious that you chose to do the work for the forests with young people,
Right.
with some really young people.
Mhm.
So, when I first met you, I thought we were going to just talk about the trees. And then we started talking about the people. And so say a little more about your vision. Why did you know that you were going to use the young people? And I mean, really young, high school kids.
Right.
Say a little bit more about why Lomacatsi became not just about the trees, but about the youth.
Sure. And that credit really goes to some tribal elders that are not with us anymore. And also want to recognize our tribal partnerships director, Belinda Brown. You can just raise your hand over there.
Belinda,
A huge part of our leadership rooted in tribal communities, but also multicultural communities across the state. It's an intergenerational model. So thinking about passing that torch on, the good torch of good fire and good ecosystem management with young people, that is that integrated approach to, we work with K through 12 as well, and then high school students, and then 18 to 30-year-olds through a program called Indian Youth Service Corps, one of our tribal workforce training programs. So that intergenerational model, getting that concept, those concepts early, and then getting people's hands on the land. So that interactive approach has been part of the model.
and say a little more about what happens to the youth.
It changes lives. So like in the community of Chiloquin, where we've been managing a program for 10 years in partnership with the Klamath tribes, and now we're in partnership with the tribal community. You see young people come into the program, and after 2 years, it's changed their whole life around. It's not just restoring the ecosystem, it's restoring their lives. It's restoring their communities and giving the community hope, a lot of hope.
Yeah.
So,
Wow. I love it. You and Belinda spoke about the healing that can come from reconnecting
Mhm.
with the touch. And I think that's a powerful part of what Lomacatsi is doing.
thank you.
So I'm going to talk to your person next to you here.
Excellent.
You're not the only one on the hot seat, so.
Okay.
Because Adrian, you are also working with young people and then some. If you don't know this about Dr. B, Adrienne Bennings, she's really running Oregon's largest post-secondary institution, Portland Community College. Adrienne, you know, I know we got a lot of higher ed in the house. We love our scholarships, but I am so impressed with the scale of the institution you're leading. 50,000 students at PCC across 5 counties and very diverse. When you were thinking about this job, Adrienne, did you realize the scale of what you'd be facing when you came to PCC?
Well, you have to realize one thing about me before I answer that question. I'm a middle child and I'm a recovering type A, and my dad was military, and I'm from West Texas, and I was like, I can take this bull by the horn. And when I came on, it's been trying to buck me off, but I'm still holding on.
Theme of the day, hold on, boldly. Yes, good. It's interesting for me to go from Southern Oregon, lots of Native youth. When I first met you, Adrienne, I saw you really devoted to the real finish line with the students that you work with. And I saw you move the finish line. It wasn't just a certificate of degree. It was really a launch. And I thought that was so good. I saw you lean in to really what's the next life chapter. What's the innovation you want us to understand about PCC? What do you want us to see that you are doing when the 50,000 people walk through your doors, or I don't know if they're still online, anything, but what is it that you're trying to get folks to see about a next life chapter?
Well, when you talk about the finish line and what I want folks to see about the next chapter for themselves, I think of, first of all, this analogy that if you imagine, if you will, with me, this baseball field, and there's a fence, and there's individuals standing on the other side of the fence trying to be a part of the game or observe the game or enjoy the game. And at one end of this fence is someone who can stand and easily view over the fence. And then you've got an individual who's on 2 boxes and barely can peer over the fence. And then you have someone who's on 5, 7, and 10 boxes and still can't see over the fence. And then you have a portion where there is no fence and there's complete access, right? And so the innovative part of what PCC is trying to do and how I'm trying to move PCC forward is, how do we create an environment where students of all ages, students of all colors, backgrounds, and experiences can come and not have the fence before them? And one of the things that has happened that I've inherited and am carrying to the finish line is a significant restructuring at the college, which has resulted in really just restructuring us as one college, functioning across 5 counties, 4 campuses, 10 centers, serving about 50,000 students. How does that happen? And it doesn't happen in a silo, and it doesn't happen with, overnight success, but really aligning and mobilizing the teams to think differently, because when it comes to change, you have to modify behaviors, and behaviors cannot be modified unless you modify the mindset that is impacting the behaviors. And so there's a nuance of how I'm moving forward with this change. A part of it is in mindset, a part of it is how we lead differently, but at the very baseline of it is seeing our students not just as students, but how do we take that human-centered approach in all that we do in serving our students, realizing that they come from various backgrounds. Some are working parents, some are older working individuals who want to come back and upskill. Some have capabilities that are limited. And so how do we serve the whole student? And it's really shifting the mindset of those who are charged with serving them first so that we can serve them best.
So great. I got to see a little of this. Thank you. Yes. Let's serve the whole student. You've invested a lot in coaching and mentoring. Do you do that throughout the school? Tell us a little bit about, is that part of the secret for success, for changing this mindset and getting the student, getting your team to see that you meet students where they are?
Yeah.
Is coaching part of that?
Coaching is part of it. And I have to tell you, just being a former athlete and realizing, in this world, when you look at professional sports teams, even the best of the best have a coach, right? And so everyone needs a coach. I mean, even as a president, I may have a PhD, but coming to Oregon and heading the largest institution, I'm like, coach, can I get a coach? Right? And so when you take that mindset and that mentality of everyone needs some support, everyone needs someone to guide them, no matter their experience, their expertise, or how skilled they think they may be. And so coaching is a secret to our success, however, not largely. And here's where the key part is coming in. Future Connect is a critical program that we have launched in partnership with donorship and philanthropic giving through organizations such as OCF, the Johnson Charitable Trust, and many donors who contribute to that. And Future Connect is a program that is specially targeted to high school learners who are first generation, low income, come from low income families, right? And a part of this program is critical because it's the coaching piece. And we found that when we pair these students with the coach who is with them along every step of the way, they persist. They persist from term to term, from year to year, and they have more successful outcomes because of the coaching. So yes, coaching is a part of the secret sauce. However, we need to make it a little bit saucier to spread it around the whole college. So we're getting there.
Good. All right.
Yeah.
If you guys haven't heard of Future Connect, you need to come meet Dr. B and be part of this program because there are donors. There are plenty of OCF donors who've been part of that. I want you to paint for us a picture of success for your students. We're sitting just a few miles from one of Oregon's largest employers, Intel.
Mhm.
Tell us more about what PCC has done to connect your students with careers at Intel.
Yeah.
Give a little sense of that, what that looks like.
Well, the beautiful thing about stepping into PCC in the role as president is that there have been some long, well-established relationships and partnerships in the community, and Intel has been one of those. We've had over a 30-year partnership with Intel, and one of the things that has resonated even since my day one has been that this has been something that has solidified the transition of students from education to workforce with a key employer in the region. Now, when you talk about moving forward, though, one of the things that we've had to do and we've done since I've been here working at PCC is think differently of how we partner with Intel. And so one of the things that we've done is we've launched the Quick Start program in partnership with not only Intel, but with the city of Hillsborough, Work Systems, to really create a 2-week on-ramp program.
Wait a minute, 2 weeks?
2 weeks, yes.
Woo, that's
Mhm.
quick. Okay.
Really quick, right? I mean, who has time? No. But we wanted to make it to where we pique their interest. We give them an opportunity to have this hands-on experience in education in the semiconductor realm, but also linking them with an employer who, through this program, they have a guaranteed interview. Over the 2 weeks, they have a $500 a week stipend because they're taking this time out to participate in this program. And we have over a 60% placement rate through this 2-week program with through Quick Start with Intel. So thinking differently about the partnership is critical. And that's also going to be a key to moving forward is doing the same thing will only get you so far. But this is an example of how we've thought differently with Intel.
What do the students think after 2 weeks?
Wow. So I've gotten to participate in a couple of graduations. And I have to say this first, that this Quick Start program has elevated women of color. We've had the largest cohorts of women of color in this program. And one of the last graduations I went to, there was this one student, and even throughout the whole program, she did not have a dry eye. And afterwards, she wanted to take a photo, and I just wanted to just hug her and just tell her, you did it, and this was all you, and now there's nothing impossible for you. And I was like, she just kept saying, I'm just so happy. I couldn't believe that I'm here. I couldn't believe that I made it. And I said, but you did. And so those are some of the things I get to observe. And I have heard that the students also like the stipend. I mean, because who doesn't need $500 extra, right? So, some might need it for needs and food, but some might want it for other things.
So good. Well designed stipend job. All right. So we've tackled fires. We've tackled launching everybody into bold new careers. And now, Kenny, you're going to be my next victim here because you took on another one of our really intractable challenges, which is having safe shelter, particularly after a pandemic and after wildfires. Oregon got the double whammy of both things. You took on the ultimate challenge of bringing the first shelter to the Dalles. And the picture we just saw in the video of the annex is so beautiful. You're standing proud, but take us back a little bit to your story, to some of the challenges you faced before you got to stand proudly with a finished project turnkey site called the Annex. So welcome, but take us back on your journey to this beautiful success.
Thanks, Lisa, and thanks for having me. Good afternoon, everyone. I mean, it was definitely a challenging process, but I think from the beginning, we developed a vision for what we wanted to see, and we were committed to that vision. And that vision was to build a better future for our community. And that was really through partnership and equity-centered programs that really work on addressing houselessness in our community. We had great partners. So going into challenging situations, I felt supported. And that was really, really helpful.
Do you live there? Do you live in the Dalles?
I live in Mosier, which is just
close
a
enough.
few miles away in Wasco County. It became really challenging after we announced we had purchased the project and our plans for it. This hotel is the entry to downtown the Dalles, so it's the first thing you see. So building something beautiful for our community was really important to me. I wanted to make sure that when people drove into downtown, that our project reflected the community. And that was a commitment that I really made to the community. They didn't believe
They didn't
that I was gonna
They
do
did
that.
not believe that you're gonna hold on boldly and build something
yeah.
beautiful. So
It got pretty hectic. There was actually a rally at a bar in downtown the Dalles at one point in time, and there was 100 or so people there that, it was kind of like a pitchforks and torches type of situation. And I think things got a little bit dangerous for me personally in the community, but we were committed and we believed in what we were doing. Our team believed in us. My board believed in us. The Oregon Community Foundation believed in us, and that is all what made it happen. Today, that project is one of the nicest buildings in downtown the Dalles.
yes, yes.
And that bar owner that hosted that rally came to our grand opening and congratulated us. And
Oh, yes, it's all right. Not
Andy texted me and asked for our stucco guy's contact information.
It's good. Everybody needs a contact for a stucco guy.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that the story didn't end with a not in my backyard kind of pitchfork situation, that it's everybody's now. Tell us a little bit more about the ambition you had for this project. I think you said there is over 70 people, but you've had a vision that this project turnkey site was not just temporary housing. It was also to get people through. Say a little bit more about that vision.
Yeah, I have some pretty strong beliefs around sheltering. They're my personal beliefs that short-term shelter does not solve the long-term problem of homelessness, and we need to support people in our community better. We need to do better. We need to provide them with solutions that result in them getting out of the situation that they're in. We believe in them. We believe in our people, our clients, our staff. We believe in them. We believe that things can be better. And I think we have that obligation to believe in them because so many people didn't have someone who believed in them. And us who are fortunate enough to have had somebody believe in us, I think everybody in this room can probably recall a moment in their life when someone believed in them and that changed their future. And many of our clients never had that person. And so we are being those people to the clients that we're serving.
I love that vision. Thank you. Thank you, Kenny. So great. Kenny, you've said that there are a lot of kids. It came up in the video. Tell us about the kids. How is it to be a kid in the annex?
Yeah, this is kind of emotional. So the interesting thing about the annex is, this was a hotel in the Dalles, and we didn't have a family shelter. We were actually placing families with children in this hotel during COVID. And to purchase the hotel and then be able to convert it was really nice. There's 2 separate buildings on the property. So we do have a singles and couples side, and then we have a family side. And the family side was a game changer. There's about 30 kids living there now. It's a game changer for the community. First thing you see when you come to downtown, all the opposition that everybody had. Now how bad do they feel when they drive into downtown and they see a bunch of kids playing with chalk and their dads and getting picked up by the school bus in that parking lot there? Like, that was a huge game changer. And we've had people come over to our site who were heavily opposed at the beginning. I actually had a gentleman who came over and he was crying, saying how wrong he was and that it was so nice to see children being stabilized. And we need to do that. We need to stabilize our children so that this issue doesn't pass along to the next generation. It's so important.
So great. Thank you. So great. So Kenny, you're sitting next to a college president. When you talk to parents, are they thinking about college for their kids? Do they have an aspiration for successful college for their kids?
I thought about this a little bit last night, actually. There is an inequity that exists there where lower income households, they need to be meaningfully connected to that system because many of them come from generations of folks who did not get the opportunity. I'm going to call it the opportunity to go to college. And they don't even know what it means to talk to their kids about school. So that is something that we're building into what we're doing. We're partnering with Columbia Gorge Community College to do some of that, but parents, they're just trying to get by.
They're trying to get by.
Yeah.
Adrian, if you could talk to one of Kendry's parents, what would you want him to say?
What
would you want to say to the parents?
What would I want to say to the parents?
If you could get there.
If I could get there. Gosh, that's a good question.
Because I think they're one of these boxes.
Yeah.
Some of them are on those boxes where they can't see over the fence or the fence feels high.
I would probably start with a question to the parent, like from the standpoint to get their perspective and their lens, like, what do you desire for your child?
That's always,
rather than going and saying, here's what we can do.
Here's what you
here's
can
who
do.
we are.
Right. But
I
what
want to hear from them, their passion, and connect with what they see in the future for their children, and then try to make a connection from there.
Very good college president. That's what you should ask. So very good. I love it. Marco, do the young people you work with, do they connect with a college degree, with a community college? Do they need to meet Adrian?
Right. Well, just to be honest, when we began our workforce program recently, there were 8 suicides in the community of Chiloquin. So folks are homeless, are young people. They're living out of their vehicles, and we're just integrating with leadership with our team, providing that social service, that wraparound service, in addition to getting them their first job. So just a real baseline. And I think the future through this Indian Youth Service Corps program started by Deb Holland, Secretary Holland,
current Interior Secretary,
is that future of an on-ramp camp to a natural resource career and then higher education. So that's the conversations we're having.
And do the kids believe it? Can they see a future in the natural resource management field?
They do. And we have some success stories of young people coming into our program that are now in agency leadership. So this program's been going on a few decades, but we're really refining it.
Like agency in government agencies?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And then working for their tribe. And then it's not only natural resources, they might get inspired to do something else, communications, outreach, administration. So we offer all of that type of touch points in the work.
And one of the questions I always hear from parents around Oregon is, can our kids stay here? Can we remain Oregonians and have a life that pays the bills and gives us hope? Do you feel that?
I think the example of creating, institutionalizing this program and the model, we're doing this now in Harney County. So
Great.
young people are moving away, especially within tribal communities.
Yeah.
They disperse, they go to larger cities.
Yeah.
Is if there's something to do on their lands and there's an opportunity to see a future,
Yeah.
they're going to stay home.
They're gonna
And we're
stay.
seeing more of that.
So good. Kenny, it's just so beautiful. Marco, I want to go back to the suicides you mentioned. And I want you to, that just seems to me so painful. How do you have hope when you have faced probably the most painful thing that any of us
Mhm.
could face? How do you have hope?
Well, the hope comes from the day-to-day movement forward
Yeah.
and those inspirations of what we see on that day-to-day. And one really short story. We recently had 4 tribal young adults go to the National Endowment of the Arts back in DC through the Roundhouse Foundation, Aaron Borla. And Belinda Brown was invited, our tribal partnerships director, and she said, I want the young up and coming tribal leaders in their 20s, late teens, 20s and 30s to go. So representatives from the Burns Paiute tribe, the Klamath tribes, that's the inspiration. They spoke to Senator Merkley, they spoke to elected leaders, they met Deb Haaland. And then we got a call from Senator Merkley's office. A young person mentioned something about Indian Youth Service Corps. What is that program?
So powerful.
How do we change that program? How do
So
we
powerful.
make it permanent? So that's the inspiration.
That is the hope.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I love it. I love it. It's the young people for the future. Adrian, what is it that gives you hope being on this campus every day?
What gives me hope is that I was once that student that was lost and couldn't find my way. I was that student who didn't see myself with potential and purpose. I was that student who was a single parent. I was that student who at one time went through well-being issues with depression and suicide. And so I was that student. And so what gives me hope is because of my experiences and because of the opportunity that I have to impact one life means that I can make change through one life. But looking around this room, this gives me hope.
Yes, you are the right leader for that institution. And Kenny, I'm going to end on you. What is it that gives you hope?
Well, this room for sure. This room of people who are committed to removing the inequities that exist across systems and doing it through a foundation that allows us flexibility to do things the way our community needs it. I mean, that gives me a lot of hope, but I have to say my staff give me hope. They're the ones who believe, they believe in the people that we're serving, and they've been successful. And we've got to believe in the people who are doing this work on a day-to-day basis. You all have believed in them. So yeah, that's what gives me hope.
Wow, thank you. I think you know why we needed to hear from some real Oregon innovators who are moving our state forward. Help me thank Marco Bay, Dr. Adrian Bennings, and Kenny Laporte. Thank you.
Thank you.